Indiana 211 is a division of the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration, or FSSA. 211 was formerly a nonprofit organization but transitioned to being a part of FSSA in 2020. The learning objectives for today's presentation are to know the mission Indiana 211 serves and what resources are available in the statewide database, understand what to expect when calling Indiana 211, learn how to request to be listed in the Indiana 211 database and update existing information, and learn how Indiana 211 community engagement tools can benefit you and your work. Indiana 211's mission is to improve the quality of life for Hoosiers by connecting people to health and human service resources through highly skilled navigators, continuous community collaboration, and a robust community database and technological innovations. What is 211? Indiana 211 is a free service that connects Hoosiers with help and answers from thousands of health and human service agencies and resources right in their local communities, quickly, easily, and confidentially. It is important to stress that 211 services are completely confidential because not knowing that can sometimes create some apprehension or make people hesitant to call 211. Additionally, there are no eligibility requirements, income standards, or any other rules. Anyone can call 211. Here are some fast facts about 211. Indiana 211 serves all residents of Indiana. The average call received at 211 is about 11 minutes long. In 2025, Indiana 211 received over 160,000 calls and provided over 520,000 referrals. The reason there are so many more referrals than calls is because Indiana 211 community navigators try to provide 3 referrals for each need that a caller has, and many callers have more than one need. With these calls, Indiana 211 averaged about 13,700 calls each month, serving over 9,400 individual callers. The difference there is because there are individuals who call 211 more than once. The greatest needs 211 saw in 2025 were for housing, utility assistance, and food. Indiana 211 is statewide, so the resource database covers all 92 counties, and any community navigator who answers the phone is able to look at resources within just the client's local community. There are thousands of services represented in the database, and they are maintained and updated by the resource curation team to ensure that 211 community navigators are providing accurate referrals with the most up-to-date information. As mentioned, in 2025, the top 3 needs Indiana 211 referred people to were housing, utility assistance, and food and meals. And the remaining top 10 needs include individual, family, and community support, which include services such as case management, home repair services, and support groups. And then there is healthcare, legal, consumer, and public safety services, income support and assistance, transportation services, information services, clothing, personal, and household needs. And then other resources Indiana 211 can refer individuals to include mental health and substance use disorder resources, employment programs, disaster services, domestic violence, sexual assault, and trafficking resources, libraries, job readiness programs, childcare, and much more. Next, we will look at how individuals can access Indiana 211. There are 3 easy ways to access 211. Individuals can dial 211 or 866-211-9966. As long as an individual is in Indiana, dialing 211 should direct them to Indiana 211, but on occasion, if someone is close to a bordering state, it may direct them to a 211 agency in a different state, so they can always dial the full number as well to ensure that they reach Indiana 211. If anyone prefers to communicate via text rather than over the phone, they can also text their zip code to 898-211. Texting this number during 211's normal business hours of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., will put them in contact with an Indiana 211 community navigator. If an individual texts this number outside of the normal business hours for texting, they will receive AI assistance with finding resources. Lastly, an individual can always visit the Indiana 211 website at in211.org to search for information as well. The website has an online guided resource search that allows community members and service providers to search for resources on their own. Even though Indiana 211 has texting and online searching available for finding resources, it is important to keep in mind that an individual is going to get the most comprehensive assistance by calling 211 because Indiana 211 community navigators are trained to ask additional questions to identify the exact needs a caller has and identify whether they are eligible for various resources. To share a little more information about Indiana 211's online guided search, this is available right on the homepage at in211.org. The guided search is beneficial for finding simple resources quickly for those individuals who may not need the additional assistance that Indiana 211 community navigators provide. Someone using the guided search can either choose from the service categories shown on the screen, or they can select the advanced search option to search by keyword. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, there is a Google Translate option, and when a language is selected from that drop-down, it will translate the entire page to that language, as well as all of the search results in the guided search. If an individual chooses to search by service category, once a main service category is selected, a drop-down of more specific services will appear so the search can be narrowed even further. In this example, the food category has been opened up and the specific service food pantries will be selected. From the service categories, once a service type, such as food pantries, is selected, then a list of various resources will appear, as well as a map showing where they are located. From there, a zip code can be entered, and that will automatically display the resources in order of closest to furthest away from that zip code. If an individual is using the guided search on a mobile device, then they can also select the Use My Location option instead of entering a zip code. On this page, there is a keyword search as well, so if someone wanted to narrow the food pantry resources even further with a keyword or agency name, then they could. Lastly, there is a target populations filter that allows the resource results to be narrowed to ones that serve a specific population if available. Each resource listing provides all of the information needed for a referral. Once the search is narrowed down as far as desired, each listing provides the option to either email or text individual resources to whoever is needing the resources, or multiple resource listings can be saved to a list to either print or save as a PDF. The other option for searching for resources in the guided search was to select the advanced search option that appeared at the end of the service categories. With the advanced search option, a zip code and keyword or agency can still be entered, but the difference is instead of starting with a service category like we saw before, the resources that populate will now be based entirely on the search terms used on this page. There are a couple different ways to search on this page as well. To get the type of resource one is looking for, they can either enter a keyword, service name, or agency name, like we saw before, or there is another box that asks what type of services are you looking for, and here an individual can type a keyword and then choose from a drop-down of suggested service types. And then to narrow the search to a specific geographic area, a zip code can be entered like we saw before to sort the results by resources located close to that zip code. And then after this search is conducted and the search results populate, those same target population filters that we saw with the last search method will appear and can be used. Once an individual has search results, whether it's from choosing a service category or using the advanced search option, if they choose to save resources to a list to print, this is what the list looks like. It has all of the same service details that we were given in the search results list. Now that we have covered how to search for resources on in211.org, let's transition back to calling 211. Any Hoosier looking for services can call Indiana 211, whether they are calling for themselves or on behalf of someone else. Our callers include the people who need services themselves, as well as medical professionals, advocates, school counselors and social workers, school personnel, neighbors and friends, and family members. A caller does not need to be in crisis to call 211. They can call for any assistance they need and just don't know where to go to get it. 211 is not considered a crisis line, but if someone calls in crisis, our navigators are trained to intervene and can even get them connected to 988, which will be covered shortly. Next, we will look at what someone can expect when calling 211. When someone calls 211, they will speak to an Indiana 211 community navigator. Community navigators are the connectors to community resources. Indiana 211 has 57 community navigators who all receive 3 weeks of training prior to starting. Indiana 211 has both English and Spanish-speaking community navigators, but they also have access to a service that allows them to connect with interpreters for over 240 other languages. If a caller agrees to it, then the community navigator will ask a series of social determinants of health questions to help them understand where a caller is at the time of the call. Sometimes people call in for one need, but in asking some additional questions, there may be other issues that the community navigator can also offer resources for. A 211 call really is much more than just a phone call. Indiana 211 community navigators recognize when callers may need some advocacy, and they are able to advocate by calling an agency with the client on the phone, introducing them, and providing a warm transfer over to the agency they are being referred to. Community navigators also recognize which callers may need some follow-up from them, and they schedule those follow-up calls as needed. Indiana 211 community navigators are able to assist with all types of needs, and the main navigator line is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Indiana 211 also has some more specialized lines to streamline some of the more complex types of needs. 211 has a line for the Child Care Development Fund, or CCDF, as well as 3 other child care lines for facility complaints, facility referrals, and facility referrals for individuals whose preferred language is Spanish. All of the child care lines are available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. as well. Indiana 211 also has 3 lines in collaboration with FSSA's Division of Mental Health and Addiction, or DMHA, one of which provides lift rides to substance use disorder treatment facilities. The second includes a substance use disorder information helpline, and the third provides referrals to peer coaches for mental health, substance use, and recovery services. All of the DMHA lines are available 24/7. One other option that people will hear when they call 211 is the option to get connected to 988, which is the state suicide and crisis lifeline. 988 can assist individuals who are experiencing thoughts of suicide, a mental health crisis, a substance use crisis, or emotional distress. Indiana 211 started collaborating with 988 due to the recognition that helping individuals get connected to both 211 for health and human services, as well as 988 for mental health resources when necessary, is important for implementing whole person care. Even if someone does not choose the 988 option when they call 211, community navigators can do a warm transfer over to 988 if they feel it is necessary. Lastly, although 211 is only available by phone Monday through Friday, 988 is available 24/7. Here's a list of the social determinants of health questions that Indiana 211 navigators ask clients. They ask, what is your employment status? What is your current yearly household income? Has anyone in your household served in the military? What is the highest level of education you have completed? What is your living situation today? Have you recently received a disconnect notice for your electric, gas, oil, or water services? Are you worried that your food will run out before you can get more? Do you receive SNAP benefits? Does a lack of transportation keep you from medical appointments or getting the things you need for daily living? Do you currently have health insurance? And does anyone, including family, ever insult or talk down to you? These questions are beneficial because they help the community navigator determine whether the client has additional needs they are able to assist with that they may not have mentioned when they called in. Also, depending on the caller's answers, some of these questions will actually trigger an additional assessment or pre-screening that the navigator can use to better assist the caller. For example, for questions 7 and 8, if the caller is identified as food insecure and does not already have SNAP, then the navigator will offer to do a pre-screening for SNAP eligibility and then make that referral as needed. As another example, for question 11, if the caller says anything except never, then a domestic violence assessment will populate so the navigator can determine whether the caller is safe at the moment and help them develop a safety plan before continuing with referrals if needed. Next, we will learn about the Indiana 211 Resource Curation Team. Indiana 211 has 6 curators who are dedicated to the resource database information. They do a full update of every agency in the database on an annual basis, and they do this by either reaching out via phone or email or by using the annual update link. If an agency has verified their email address with Indiana 211, then they receive a link when their annual update is due to make the updates online. Resource curators also make partial updates throughout the year if they see any announcements on social media about an agency's information changing or if an agency submits an update request on our website. Additionally, when new agencies and their services are added to the database, resource curators collaborate with those new agencies to help them understand Indiana 211 and how to keep their information updated in the database. Indiana 211 currently has over 4,300 agencies in its resource database, with over 7,200 sites among those agencies and over 9,900 services offered at those sites. Of these agencies, about 58% are nonprofit, 38% are government, just 3% are commercial, and 1% are categorized as other. The other category primarily includes coalition groups and resources that are offered during a disaster that are not necessarily provided by one single agency. On the Indiana 211 website at in211.org, the Join the Database tab has the Indiana 211 Resource Database Programs and Services Guide for agencies that are interested in being listed in the database to review to see whether their services meet the required criteria. They can then complete the resource request form to be considered for addition to the database. This tab also has a link for agencies whose services are already listed in the Indiana 211 database to search for their record and complete a form to note any updates needed to their record. The Indiana 211 Resource Database Programs and Services Guide helps Indiana 211 determine which resources should and should not be listed in the database. The purpose of the guide is to collect and classify the most comprehensive, accurate, and up-to-date information about human services available throughout the state of Indiana. The guide is comprehensive and can be found at in211.org, but here are some highlights of the main criteria. Indiana 211 will include in their resource database government agencies and programs, crisis lines, hotlines, and helplines, community, nonprofit, or faith-based organizations that offer social services to the community, and community collaborations or coalitions. Indiana 211 will exclude from their resource database agencies that deny services based on race, gender, sexual orientation, etc., and programs that are for members only. On a case-by-case basis, Indiana 211 will consider including for-profit agency services that provide programs with a sliding scale fee structure or programs that offer free services, scholarships, or reduced fees. This is what the resource listing request form looks like. An agency who is wanting to have their services listed in the Indiana 211 database and believes their services meet the criteria presented in the Resource Database Programs and Services Guide can complete this form. The form asks for information about the agency, all of the different sites it has, and all of the services offered at those sites. When that form is submitted, it will be reviewed by the resource curation team to ensure the agency meets the programs and services guidelines, and if it does, then the resource team already has all of the information needed to create the agency's database record. Agencies that are already listed in the Indiana 211 database and are needing to make updates to their record before their annual update is due can click on the Search and Update Your Community Organization option at in211.org. An agency's database record can be found by searching by agency name or by address. Once the agency record is found, then the information listed in that agency's 211 database record can be reviewed, and there is an option to open and submit an update form if any changes need to be made. Here is the contact information for the Indiana 211 Resource Curation Team. This contact information can be found at in211.org as well, and this is the team an agency would contact if they have any questions about the information in their database record or about adding new services to the Indiana 211 database. Lastly, we will learn about the Indiana 211 Community Engagement Team and the community engagement tools available to you. Indiana 211 has two community engagement coordinators. One of their roles includes analyzing data from the calls 211 receives to identify unmet needs and determine which communities and agencies should be engaged to try to fill those gaps. The community engagement team is also able to provide community partners with data reports from Indiana 211 client data to help them better understand trends in their community, or to provide them with data they can use to justify new programs or grants. The other main role of the community engagement team is to engage both community members and community organizations at various events. This includes providing resource tables at community-based events and professional conferences, as well as presenting at conferences or to a community organization's staff. As mentioned, the community engagement team relies heavily on data to guide the work that they do, and Indiana 211 has a data dashboard available at in211.org that allows agencies to learn more about their communities through Indiana 211 data as well. The dashboard can be found under the Data tab on the homepage, along with a Data Requests form, which allows anyone to request additional data if they are looking for specific data they are not able to find on the Data dashboard. This is what the Data dashboard looks like, and it provides data on all of the interactions received at 211, which includes calls, texts, and emails. This screenshot shows that the data can be broken down by demographics and by county. Any county or multiple counties can be selected on the Indiana map, and it will filter the entire dashboard to display data for only that county or group of counties. There is also an agency filter above the Indiana map that can be used to filter the entire dashboard to display data for interactions on which 211 has provided referrals to a specific agency. There are also some options at the top that can be used to select which demographics are displayed, as well as an option to select a time frame for the data being displayed. Here is another image of the data dashboard that shows the breakdown of calls by need category. This section displays number of interactions for each category, as well as the percentage of interactions for each need that went unmet. Indiana 211 considers a need to be unmet if an individual contacts 211 for a specific need and the community navigator is unable to provide them with a referral. This happens for a variety of reasons, but the main reason is that the service the caller needs is unavailable in their area. A need is also considered to be unmet if a caller has exhausted existing resources, meaning they have already been referred to all of the available resources they are eligible for and are in need of additional resources. And the third reason a need may be unmet is if the caller is ineligible for all resources available in their area. The Indiana 211 Community Engagement Team relies heavily on the unmet needs data to identify new agencies and services that are not already listed in the resource database and might help meet some of those unmet needs. In that same section of the data dashboard, we can also hover over each category to see the breakdown of calls by more specific needs in that category. This example shows some of the subcategories under housing. So now we can see metrics for rent payment assistance, housing search and information, homeless shelters, and all other types of housing resources all separately. That is a brief overview of the type of data one can find on the Indiana 211 Interaction Dashboard when wanting to learn about different trends in their community. As mentioned, Indiana 211 also has a data requests form that anyone can complete if needing additional data. Everyone is encouraged to visit the data dashboard first to see if the data of interest can be found on the dashboard before submitting the form. The form asks some questions about why the person completing the form is interested in 211 data and what exactly they are looking for. If anyone has any questions about the data request form or about 211 data in general, they can reach out using the email address that appears on the first page of this form. Indiana 211 has several other tools on the website at in211.org that are available for community agencies wanting to promote or learn more about Indiana 211. The Community Engagement tab links to the Community Events Calendar, the Indiana 211 University page, the Request a Speaker form, and the Marketing Materials page. The Community Events Calendar lists free and low-cost, one-time or short-term events that are not listed in the Indiana 211 database due to not being ongoing services. The calendar serves two purposes. One is so Indiana 211 can help hosting agencies spread the word about their events, and the second is to give 211 community navigators additional resources to provide to callers when the events meet their needs. The community calendar includes events such as resource job and health fairs, diaper, food, and clothing distributions, free haircuts, parenting education classes, immunization clinics, and more. The calendar can be searched by event type, by day, or by county, and when an event is selected from the list, all of the necessary details for the event will appear. Agencies can also add their own events to the community calendar by setting up an account. Instructions on how to do that are at the bottom of the community calendar page at in211.org, but if anyone is ever trying to add events and is having difficulty with that process, events can be sent to the 211 Community Engagement Team via email as well. Contact information will be shared at the end of the presentation. Indiana 211 University was a live monthly webinar that Indiana 211 hosted for about a year. 211 streamed and recorded sessions on 211 operations and 211 data in various regions of the state. Some sessions also included guest speakers who presented on topics such as suicide prevention and awareness, domestic violence awareness, veterans resources, and more. The recordings of all past sessions are available on the Indiana 211 University page at in211.org for anyone interested in watching those recordings. 211 does not currently have any Indiana 211 University sessions scheduled, but we are in the process of restructuring these meetings and will begin hosting virtual sessions again at some point in 2026. This is what the Request a Speaker form looks like. Any agency that would like to request that Indiana 211 speak to their staff or present or table at an event can complete this form and we will get back to you. Lastly, on the marketing materials page at in211.org, there is an order form that can be used to request Indiana 211 wallet cards and bookmarks, and they will be mailed to you at no cost. All materials are double-sided, with one side printed in English and the other printed in Spanish. This page also has some downloadable materials, like the Indiana 211 flyer that can be printed by anyone, as well as some graphics and flyers that can be promoted on social media for seasonal resources, such as warming and cooling centers, holiday resources, tax assistance, and more. If you have any questions from today's presentation or any questions related to Indiana 211, you can contact our community engagement team using the phone number or email address shown on the screen. Thank you for your interest in learning about Indiana 211.